Welcome back to the channel, Little Flexers. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. This is the 8-minute metagame series. I am JW, aka Flex Daddy Righteous. And in this video, I'm going to take you through what the metagame has looked like over the last week and what I expect it to look like into the future. There's a big regional style tournament this weekend, the Chill TCG GG Tour tournament. That again is a regional 2-day event that already has over 240 players registered, and I want to make sure that you know exactly what you can expect for that. If you want to hear a more detailed explanation of the metagame and all things Pokemon news, you can head over to my podcast, Tag Team Pokemon, which I run with my good friend and regional winner, Riley Hulbert, every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. over at twitch.tv/Munner. We also upload the podcast later on our YouTubes, on the podcasting platforms such as iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and the like. You can catch it the day after as well. So let's get into it. There were 3 tournaments over this last week that had over 100 players, the first of which being the Sunday Open on November 22nd. This tournament was won by Eternatus, notably the Poison variety, which I think boasts a very nice matchup spread right now. You look at Eternatus beating things like Centiskorch pretty handily, the tag team decks like Pikarom and Mewtwo pretty handily, and generally from my testing has a favorable ADPZ matchup. I think Eternatus is a really great play, and if you're considering it for this weekend, I would say go right ahead. You also look at the Poison variety having a very solid matchup, certainly a winnable matchup against Lucario Melmetal, and the only bad matchup that an Eternatus has from what I can see at kind of the top of the metagame here is Blacephalon. Now, if you're looking, again, for these generally winnable matchups, I think Eternatus is one of the best decks to choose. The second tournament with over 100 players from this last week was the Hegster Season 3 number 9. Now, speaking of Blacephalon, this deck had 3 placements in the top 16, which is pretty impressive despite only having a 7% share of the metagame. Now, Blacephalon has strong matchups just like Eternatus across the board, especially with these, tag team decks and VMAX decks, as it can one-shot both of them. And it doesn't have quite the unfavorable matchup against ADPZ that I once thought it did. I had thought in the past that ADPZ was a pretty difficult matchup if they marnied you at the right time, but one thing that I've been seeing from ADPZ players is that they've been lessening their counts of Chaotic Swell, meaning that you're more easily able to recover that energy that you need with the Blacephalon deck. A lot of ADPZ decks have dropped their Chaotic Swell counts to 1 or even gotten rid of it entirely in favor of Viridian Forest, and I think that plays right into Blacephalon's hands in this current metagame. It's important to note that we see Pikarom winning this tournament, as the new Colossal archetype has proved not to be a very major factor in this metagame. We've seen players revert back to the popular decks with fighting weakness from the pre-Vivid Voltage era, being Pikarom and Eternatus. I would expect these players to increase in number, the Pikarom and Eternatus decks, as we continue to see Colossal be, frankly, underwhelming. The last tournament I'd like to highlight is the Crollo Tournament number 1, which was won by Blacephalon, but absolutely dominated by Centiskorch. We see 7 Centiskorch in the top 16. I don't love Centiskorch for this weekend's tournament, as I think Lightning decks pose too big of a threat. You look at Pikarom and Lightning Mewtwo both being able to use Raichu and Alolan Raichu's Paralysis attack and then Reset Stamp, which is frankly very hard for the Centiskorch deck to reliably get out of. I don't think Centiskorch is a bad play for this weekend. It certainly has the tools to win a game against just about anything, but I would just caution you with the amount of Lightning decks that we should see. Again, you're going to struggle with that matchup. With a slight overall decline in the amount of Luke Metal played, I think Blacephalon loses that matchup as a favorable one, but it still retains strong matchups against Pikarom and Eternatus, both decks that are on the rise. I would make sure that if you are playing in this weekend's tournament, that you either are playing Blacephalon or has some reasonable answer to that. Maybe it's a Power Plant Reset Stamp combo or Chaotic Swells in your deck. I think Blacephalon is poised with the metagame how it currently is to make a really deep run. Some important text that I think certain archetypes should be playing. The first one is in ADPZ. I think you absolutely need some kind of damage modifier to get up to the 270 number to one-shot a Mewtwo. So whether or not that's Leon, which is also really good against the lightning-based decks, whether or not that's Vitality Band or Zigzagoon, I think it's of the utmost importance that you can boost your damage even just that one damage counter more to be able to hit 270, again, to knock out Mewtwo's, to knock out Raichu's, and to knock out Pikarams, any of the tag team based decks. Another important tech that I would like to see a lot of players play is a second Cramorant in Blacephalon. I have been testing 2 Cramorant this whole week, and I found, again, that my win rate against ADP has been about 75%. Now, what the second Cramorant changes is that it allows you more easily to get that first turn attack, and I find that that really swings the matchup. If you can go ahead and hit the ADP on the bench with a spit shot from a Cramorant V, then you're more likely to be able to knock it out on the turn that they altered creation. I think a second Cramorant is a must in Blacephalon, and I would also consider a Zigzagoon as well for doing that additional ping against opposing Oricorios in the mirror. A lot of players will undoubtedly pick Mewtwo, be it a Welder or a Lightning-based deck, because it has a lot of even matchups against many different decks. Though it's more difficult to play, better players can outplay their opponents with this deck a little bit more easily than some of the others in the metagame, and I think that's very valuable, especially when you're heading into a very large tournament like there will be this weekend. If you're considering between the two, Welder or Lightning, I would personally choose Lightning again because of the auto paralysis on Raichu and the one-hit KO potential of the Boltund V in the late game. I think those are 2 very valuable tools that Lightning has over Welder Mewtwo. Ultimately, there are a handful of decks that I would either feel comfortable playing myself or recommending others to play. First one being ADPZ. It has been the most played deck consistently over the last couple of weeks, being the #1 most played deck in pretty much every single tournament. It just has that very consistent style of gameplay that can win any single game that you play. I'd also recommend Lightning Mewtwo. The type coverage of Mewtwo is a little bit better than Pikaram, and it gives you a little bit more of an option with the attackers that you play. I also really enjoy Eternatus. Whether or not you go the poison variety or the straight variety is up to you, but I think Eternatus is very well positioned with all the tag team decks that are currently seeing a lot of play. But my #1 choice for this weekend and for the next couple of weeks has to be Blacephalon. I think the combination of power and consistency and an improved ADPZ matchup, like we talked about a little bit earlier in the video, has me thinking that Blacephalon is a strong play for upcoming tournaments. So that is my 8-minute metagame analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below if you think that this was helpful. I want to know, because that will help me make some more in the future, if that is what you guys want. Good luck in your upcoming tournaments this week, and remember, good luck and also have fun.